Welcome to My Therapist is Out, an open space therapy collective podcast. We are your hub for queer and trans mental health care. Each episode, we talk with one of our open space therapists or LGBTQ community member about mental health and building community. I am your host, Renae Johnson, they, them. Founder of Open Space Therapy Collective, I'm a licensed therapist and an art therapist. I specialize in working with queer artists who are exploring their gender identity and recovering from complex trauma. This week, we are talking with Debbie Whyte, she, her. Debbie is an associate therapist and art therapist with Open Space Therapy Collective. Debbie specializes in working with queer and BIPOC teens and young adults who are looking to grow into themselves and find their voice. Hey y'all, welcome back. We have Debbie Whyte, an OSTC therapist, back with us today, talking about chosen family. Debbie is a colleague of mine that I've known for over a decade and is somebody that is very dear and near to my heart. So it's fun to dive into this conversation with her, talking about chosen family, talking about where to find healthy people to engage in that style of relationship with, how to step away from some of the biofam that's not so healthy for you, that's not a good place for you to engage, and what chosen family looks like, how that can be different than a casual friendship, how that can be different from your dynamic with your parents or bio siblings, and how to be picky and choosy here. These are people that you're letting in and letting close, and how to look for the signs that they, one, are also open to that kind of relationship, and two, are people that are going to be able to grow with you and are down to support you during the highs and lows. So please join us, rate, review, subscribe. It's super helpful, and let's dive in. Welcome to My Therapist It Is Out, an Open Space Therapy Collective podcast. We have our therapist, Debbie Whyte, with us again today, and it's so good to see you.
Yes, it's been a minute.
It has. We are talking about chosen family today, and I love talking about this topic, especially with you.
Yeah.
Why did you want to revisit chosen family?
I think it's something that we should always revisit ever so often. Maybe not every year. You don't have to put a timeline on it. But if you notice there's a shift in the company you keep, you might want to reevaluate. It's always important to reevaluate friendships, relationships, period. Some people, I'm a firm believer that people are in your life for a reason, season, or lifetime. But here's the kicker. You don't get to choose who's there for a lifetime, right? That kind of works itself out as time goes on. So exploring the topic of chosen family, it's important, especially in the queer and BIPOC community, right? Yeah. Especially when you also have people who are moving from their hometown into a state where they don't have family. And it doesn't always necessarily mean you have to give up your family, right? If you have a good relationship with your related family, or like I say, bio family, keep them. Who says you can't expand and have your chosen family? Maybe you don't like your cousins, so now all your friends will be your cousins. I mean, give everyone the title that they want. I mean, or that you feel a connection with.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And we'll get into, you've hit a lot in this first
I know.
minute, so we'll get into the details of that. But for people who this might be kind of their introduction to this, what's the difference between biofam, chosen fam, friendships, colleagues? Like, where does chosen family fit in?
So I think that would be our first question that we ask about, like, what is a chosen family when you're queer and trans? We'll throw that in too. So I feel like a chosen family is someone that you feel safe with, that there is respect, there's love, empathy, compassion. It's a give and take. It's not that they're there just for you when you're going through something, but it's a real friendship. Does not necessarily include intimacy or sexual relationships, but it is someone that intimacy can be platonic.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't have to be like sexual, but it's definitely someone you feel safe with. That's the key thing.
Mm-hmm.
Someone that you feel safe with to be your authentic self as you are,
Mm-hmm.
figuring out who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what we do. We spend a lot in our teen years, straight up into adulthood, and just when we think we know who we are,
Nope.
nope. So those are the things that I think are important. So the difference between bio and related. Okay, bio, you know, mom, dad, people that, you know, gave birth to you,
Mm-hmm.
conceived and gave birth to you. Siblings. Related could be aunts, uncles, cousins, or you can also include mom and dad. However, the language that fits for you, that's what it is. I like to say bio because I deal with also adolescents that are adopted, and that sometimes I have to distinct with them because they do the distinction
Mm-hmm.
by bio mom or my adopted mom,
Mm-hmm.
not my, distinction between bio mom and adopted mom. So that's the word I tend to use a lot, but we could say related because if you have a mom and dad who want to be there for you, but they're struggling with
Mm-hmm.
pronouns or understanding, they didn't grow up with this knowledge or so new to them and they're trying, let them do their learning and growth on their own and just be like, okay, well, they're trying. And I might have to, give a little empathy because they're trying.
Yeah.
And ultimately, they want to have a relationship with me. You don't have to discard them.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have a parent that's like, I didn't expect this from you, and totally not accepting you, and you don't feel safe with them mentally or physically, by all means, go out there and find your chosen family.
Mm-hmm.
People that, if you find an elderly person that's queer, and you can learn a lot from them about how to live, right? Make them your new mom
Mm-hmm.
or auntie
Mm-hmm.
or uncle, whatever they identify as. I don't feel like it should be an insult to your related family, your mom and dad. I mean, they're going to be insulted either way if they're not supportive of you. So who cares?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. Not sorry.
It's true.
Yeah, sorry. Like, I'm a firm believer just because they gave birth to you doesn't mean that you have to put them on a pedestal. If they're not treating you well, like a stranger is not treating you well, then they kind of get the same treatment.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
Mm-hmm.
We have to set boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a firm believer that your boundaries on your mental and physical well-being matters most of all, because you're only this one time on this earth as you are, and live it fully.
Yeah, I really like that you're naming that bio family and chosen family aren't in competition, and that they can be woven together,
They can be.
right? Like,
Just like you associate, like, people at work that you get along with are still your co-workers. Until you guys start hanging out outside of work, they can become your friend, right? But it could be a friend co-worker and it's just a friend at work, right? So we know we can compartmentalize and differentiate, but we tend not to do it when it comes to our chosen family and bio family.
yeah. How do you think this is different in queer and BIPOC communities?
I think it's different because, in the hetero norm world, you're born, you have these norms that you already can adapt without thinking. When you are born and you don't identify with those hetero norms, you have to find what's best for you. And unfortunately, we still have a bunch of ignorant people. Yep, I said ignorant. We have a bunch of ignorant asses that just can't let people be themselves.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's harder, but it's not impossible.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot more like rejection that happens because people are stepping outside of
the norm,
Yeah.
whatever that is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And abandonment. So, you could be hetero and still experience abandonment, and it'll still be the same abandonment that someone will experience as trans or queer. Because it is abandonment. It doesn't have a gender specific. You know, just like clothing is a construct, abandonment is a construct, right? It's like, so that's where I think if we focus more on the similarities that we all have and what we're all looking for than what the differences are, the world can be so much better. And empathy, just fuck. Love is love. Excuse me, can I say that? Oops. I mean,
yes, you've been on here before. It's fine.
I know. I'm always trying to change the norm of podcasts. Anyway, but yeah, it's like love is love. People are people. Like, why can't we just treat each other? That's a whole nother tangent I'm going to go on.
Yeah.
But sticking with the whole chosen family, I would caution not to just immediately adopt someone as your chosen family, right? Because we do have some wolves in sheep's clothing. So take your time, get to know the person, listen to your gut, you know, identify if there's one red flag, caution.
Yeah.
Just move with caution, especially for somebody else that is trans or queer, because unfortunately, we still have internalized homophobia, right? And so that could be traumatic to you if you say, hey, you're my chosen fam, and you didn't realize that person has internal homophobia and they just keep lashing out on you. Now you've added trauma on your already trauma from your bio family. So I don't want that for anyone.
Yeah, which can be really hard, right? Like if somebody is in the position where they're being rejected by family for identity purposes, or a family's struggling with it and you need more support, or maybe you come from a blissed out family and it's great, but you're an adult in the world and you need more community than that. It can be really easy to be like, oh, we're both queer, we're both trans, we're both fill in the blank, whatever it is, and automatically assume that you're coming from the same place, you have the same care, and that's not always true.
No, because the cliche of hurt people is true also. So
when you're starting to get to know somebody, what are some things to look out for? You mentioned like feeling comfortable and it being give and take. Like, what are some other things, or how do you navigate figuring that out?
I would say start talking about the things that you find interest, right? So you have cultural interest is not just where you're from or anything. It's the culture of artists. It's the culture of trans, the culture of queer. It's a culture of any interest. All the people who like to crochet, it's the culture of crochet, right? So talk about your interests and get to know what each passions are. You like music, they like music. Whoa, that's great. They may not like all the music you like, and that's fine too. But you guys have a common ground. You can talk about music. You can bond over music, go to a concert, things like that. As you spend more time with someone and the things that y'all both like, you have conversations and you get to know their point of view. I always say, don't just hit the heavy topics right away.
Yeah.
Don't start talking about religion and politics right away. Like, start with the things that just make you guys happy and feel safe and comfortable. As you get to know each other, then you can start talking about your point of views on the world, right?
Yeah. You know, it makes me think of the love bombing topic we did last year at some point. And how that can happen in these new friendship dynamics too.
Yep.
And so go back and listen to that episode. Debbie was brilliant per usual. But
Thank
also
you.
taking the time to, like you're saying, to navigate that and do the fun, silly stuff as well as talk about the bigger stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you listen to your gut. If you feel like, whoa, it's just too much, too soon, too fast, pause. Set your boundaries. We haven't done a podcast on that. We should. But your gut is not wrong.
Yeah.
In hindsight, how many times people be like, oh my God, I had this weird feeling and I just ignored it. Or I made excuses for the comments that they made, but I was really not cool with that, like, especially if you see this person has internalized homophobia can be as blatant as a person say, I hate gays, and they identify as trans or gay, right? Or it could be subtle, where they're like making queer community the butt of every joke.
Yeah.
And just say, oh, I'm just joking. Or that's how I deal with my trauma. Because everyone's now a therapist, right? So that's how I deal with my trauma. I just make really harsh jokes about, that doesn't sound like healing.
Right, because like just using therapy speak, and there's a lot more going around right now about like weaponizing therapy speak, which I'm so glad that that's happening. Doesn't take away if somebody's being passive aggressive and making jabs or
gaslighting or feeding into the, well, my trauma is bigger than your trauma competition, or like you don't know me because I've gone through the victim mentality, right? It's kind of like people expect when you go to therapy that you're going to heal right away, and healing is not linear, and it doesn't happen overnight. So the true healing is someone doing the work and not expecting a deadline of when am I going to be healed. It's kind of like, hey, I had a good session today that opened my eyes and I'm aware. Let's continue talking about this next time. Thanks, therapist. But yeah.
I have, in my own chosen family search, I tend to be somebody who offers a lot of generosity in the beginning, being like, oh, you're here, so you must be great, and tend to miss red flags. But in that, one of the more recent ones that I was like, oh, this might be somebody that I can like adopt in. She said something, I'm trying to remember, but it was along the lines of, well, now that I've done a year of therapy, I don't think I need to do anything anymore, and was just very preachy and not taking responsibility or doing internal work, and just like she had made some progress, but then felt like she was done and like the internal piece.
And that's usually, and as therapists, we know that's usually when you should continue, because you are blocking for a reason, because either you don't want to make a breakthrough, or you might need to pause because the breakthrough you did make was too much, right? But usually if I get someone that says, oh, I don't need therapy anymore, well, what part of therapy don't you need anymore? I recently had a client that was like, well, we addressed the one thing that I came to, and I gave them all the opportunity to be like, well, I don't need therapy anymore. And they're like, no, I'm still going to come. We still can talk. I want to figure out other things that we can do. And that to me is someone who's like, yeah, we addressed the big thing that I came here urgently for, but I recognize that there's still some things that I need to work on. And you want to work with people like that. When you have, and when in your case, when your chosen family and that person said that, that's kind of like a red flag for you, because I know how much you value therapy. And in some ways that person was almost felt like they were like crapping on your friendship and your support, right?
Yeah, they were, in reflection, this is some time ago, they were wanting to use me to give them the thumbs up as a therapist and a friend that they didn't need it anymore. And at this point I'm like, and you're right, like pauses and breaks, go for it. Like we ebb and flow out of therapy, but as we change, we need different support, and we need to come back and take breaks and whatever. But in this, it was very much of, she wanted me to green light, no, you don't need to keep internally working on yourself, even though when you're not in therapy, that doesn't mean you need to stop the work. The work continues. That's a lifelong process.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of, so the example you gave about this friend that wanted you to give them the green thumb or the thumbs up that, yeah, you don't need therapy anymore. In actuality, that's not fair for you to say, right? Because it would be bias. And if you're wrong, and something happens, they're going to just use you to blame you. You said. And so that's a red flag that you would want to be like, hey, let me not be so quick to claim this person as my chosen family, because what I could be doing is choosing this person as a dysfunctional part of my related, my bio family. It could be that sibling that you never got along with, and all of a sudden you're recreating that in your chosen family. So choosing a chosen family means you want to have people around you that are supportive, but will also tell you, hey, cut your shit, stop fucking up, in a loving way. But what you don't want is to recreate the dysfunction or the toxic relationships you left.
Yeah.
You walked away from.
Yeah, that is so well said. Because in this example, there was a while when there were things happening where I just felt like drained and used, and I couldn't put my finger on it. And that was kind of one of the aha moments.
Glad you said that. Drained is also another feeling. If you feel drained, it's not just your gut. Do you feel every time you're around this person, do you feel drained, anxious, like overthinking everything, walking on eggshells? Those are all signs that this person's not your chosen family. And this is signs that this person could be a potential recreation of what you don't want.
Yeah.
Because we're still healing, right? We're still healing parts of us that we want to grow from. But if the person you feel, hey, I can't wait to hang out with them again. But that was like 2 weeks later. That was really fun that we hung out that day. Like, that's a person you want to keep around. And just because they're your chosen family doesn't mean you have to talk to them every day.
No.
A real friendship is, hey, we haven't talked in 2 months, but we get on the phone and it's like we just talked yesterday. That's a good sign of a good friendship. Your chosen family could be part of that too. If you get someone that says to you, oh, the only time you seem to call me is when, you might want to reevaluate, is that, hey, do you feel like I'm always taken from you and that I'm not here for you? And then you can have a discussion about it.
Yeah, because the chosen family vibe isn't like your party friends that you're always having a good time with, but they are your friends that are going to fill you up. And if somebody hurts the other person, either way, that you guys can feel safe having that conversation.
Exactly. And you're going to need that.
Yeah.
You're going to want to have that hard conversation, because it's almost a test to be like, oh, wow, we had a hard conversation and we still like each other. Okay. This is cool. Well, not that everyone would say this is cool. That's just me.
Yeah. But it is. And like having that emotional safety and being able to grow together, and also as a human, right? Like,
we're never going to know each other 100%. And like I said before, we are never the same person. We're not the same person as last week, yesterday, or today, or just an hour ago, right? So when you have those hard conversations with that person, I'm hoping the takeaway is, wow, I really didn't know that my jokes really rub so-and-so the wrong way, and that they don't want me to be so jokey all the time. They just want me to be me. And I was being jokey because I was uncomfortable being me. So now we've learned something about each other, and like, woo! Now we can be a little bit more free, because, sometimes when you're healing through therapy, you tend to want to make harsh jokes on yourself so that you don't feel the heaviness of whatever you're thinking or whatever you're going through.
We got a couple questions in.
Okay.
I'm just going to read them.
All right.
To you, because I know you have some good insights on these. We kind of answered this one already, but I'm going to come back to it. I've never been close with my related family, and I moved to LA because there was nothing back there for me. I'm usually only close to people I'm sleeping with. Am I supposed to choose family from this?
And I said, yes, but it depends on the relationship status you have with this person. I said a lot about this. So yeah, your chosen family is more likely to be friends. And it doesn't mean that you have to let go of your family members, and it could include the person that you are sleeping with. But like I said, it depends on the status. If y'all just want to be hit and run, bump and grind, and that's where you want the relationship to be, and if that's okay with you, then you don't have to include them as your chosen family. But it's good to have that discussion so that you're on the same page. The worst thing ever is when someone is sleeping with someone and then they're like expecting more, because expectations can, like perception is a bitch, right? It can really muddy the waters. So I'm really always encouraging clear verbal communication. And if you don't know what you want, communicate that too. And then revisit it again. Agree to revisit again. And it can look like this. Hey, so-and-so, I know we're sleeping together, but do you want to be part of my chosen family? Well, what part of the chosen family would I be considered?
Yeah.
Well, my partner. Well, we're not like that. Oh, okay, like, let's talk about it. I'm just ad-libbing.
Yeah.
But it's good to just verbalize with the person. Don't make assumptions, and have clear communication so you can make informed decisions.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think there's space even with like chosen family and having sexuality be a part of the relationship, even if there's not romantic element. There's space for romance with chosen family without a sexual element. There's space for platonic intimacy.
I call all that platonic intimacy, because you can cuddle up on a sofa under the blankets and watch a movie with your bestie and y'all not sleeping with each other. So, but you feel good and you get all the, what's the word I'm missing? All the, it's not serotonin, dopamine. The feel-good hormone. Yeah, let's just call it that. You get all the feel-good hormones just by having that form of closeness with your friends.
Yeah.
So, it is a little tricky, but I think everything can be remedied with communication.
Yeah.
Have that talk.
One more, because this will come out right as the holidays are starting to creep up on us. So how can I make new holiday rituals or experiences with my chosen family without repeating the stupid mistakes of my nuclear family?
Have a discussion before the holidays. Like, you're having gatherings with your chosen family. Hopefully they all choose each other too. Throw a crudité board up, have some drinks and like, hey guys, the holidays are coming up. No, it's hard for us all. How do we want to spend it? Have that conversation, plan it out. And this is an opportunity to do something different. Like, we don't have to do, now that we know the history behind all these holidays, I really just think that, okay, they're really on the calendar because nationally everyone is doing something for it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be what it's been done before. I always share the experience that my mom, being an immigrant from Jamaica, and came here, she tried to assimilate with Thanksgiving, and she did the turkey and the stuffing and the cranberry, and we're like, what is that? And I'm the only one that was born here, so I'm the Jamaican, right? And even I was like, what is that? And my mom would be eating like white meat for days because we fight over the legs and wings and thighs, and that's it. Nobody wants to eat anything else. And so she decided to change it up, and she was like, Thanksgiving is our cultural dishes that we don't normally eat all the time, and that's what we think. And she formulated a closeness with all of us in the kitchen having a job to do to contribute to making a meal. And those are like the most treasured memories that I've had, is that we, as early as 7 years old, that we all contributed to making the meal. And it's a smorgasbord. And so Thanksgiving to me is like, people come over, family, friends come over, and there's lots of food, and we're laughing and talking, and that's what it is. As I got older, and I then divorced my husband, and my oldest is 5 years old, and the youngest is 4 months old, I'm not going to eat all of this food by myself. They're toddlers. So I changed it to let's go to movies or we watch a movie at home. Of course, when the 4-month-old was old enough to watch movies. But yeah, we would do a movie and a simple meal. And it would be their favorite. So if they like sweet potatoes, marshmallows, it could be that and a simple chicken dish. It didn't have to be the elaborate what I grew up with because now my family's smaller. Yeah. So I encourage people to take the holidays and recreate it to make it your own.
Yeah. And then, like, what you're using as an example of both from your mom and then what you did with your kids is, like, how do we make it easy for us to be together and enjoy each other?
Exactly.
And then fill in whatever it needs to.
Yeah. See, well, Jamaicans, everything revolves around food. You're sad, we eat. You're happy, we eat. But my mom, literally, she worked hard, and her motto was, you work hard, you play hard. And when the holidays come around, that's when you host and have friends over, and you connect. We live a busy life every day of the week. So when the holidays roll around, it's a good opportunity to, like, pause and say, hey, let's just sit back, chill, and enjoy each other's company, however you want to do it. Yeah. So when it comes to the chosen family, I encourage have a conversation way ahead of time because sometimes people may not want to mention it because they're so afraid of feelings coming up. And then that might be the friend that needs everyone the most. So having it when it's not a pressure time to discuss and make plans is a great way to go about the holidays.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's like giving me a lot to think about with this next set of holidays coming up. So to end, therapy is great and chosen family is wonderful.
Yes.
And you often need both. What is a moment for you in the last couple of weeks of a chosen family queer moment of joy?
Well, I always look forward to kicking off the new year. When I moved here from New York, when I was in New York, my sister and I used to have New Year's Day brunch. And that's how we kicked off the year, by having brunch together and just chit-chat and just being each other's company, not necessarily doing anything big. And when I presented it to my chosen family here, it became a big thing, and it's been great. And so I look forward to that now because it's nice to just share a tradition that I created with my sister onto other people, and everyone loves it. And I'm like, yeah, I love this. And literally, it's a great feeling that just lasts. You know, you can always remember in February. Oh, remember New Year's now. Yeah. So
awesome.
that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for joining us. Please share the podcast, especially if you have some friends that might be turning into some family.
Yeah.
If you want to start that conversation. To find out more from Debbie, you can find her on our social media accounts. Thank you. At Open Space Therapy Collective. And DM us, follow, share, all of that stuff really helps us
if we
out.
didn't hit a question that was covered today in Chosen Family, send it to us. We'll do a part 2.
Cool. All right. Thanks, y'all. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us. If you're in California and looking for a therapist, visit our website at openspacetherapycollective.com and book a free intro call with one of our therapists. If you're enjoying My Therapist Is Out, please rate, review, and follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. My Therapist Is Out is an Open Space Therapy Collective podcast. Our therapists are Renae Johnson, Kristen Crow, Debbie Whyte, Jenny Nigro, Tara Friedman, Sierra Gruca, and Ernesto Martinez. Our podcast editing is done by Smash and Grab Studio, and research and writing done by Matt Wade. We'd love to hear from you about today's topic, so email us at info@openspacetherapycollective.com. You can find us on TikTok and Instagram at Open Space Therapy Collective. Thanks for listening.